So in terms of features, like I said, we did 2,800, 2,900 commits. It's been coming along. We released 3 major versions in 2000, sort of between 2007 and 2008, 2.3, 2.5, and 2.6. What was interesting about this is this was, I don't remember, I was sort of actually curious. Like, who was using WordPress like way back in the day, like 1.0 days? Like a handful. This actually probably will map well to our adoption. Like 1.5 when we introduced themes, that was the Kubrick, first Kubrick release. Kubrick is old school now, but when it came out, it was hot. People were like, wow, rounded corners. It's blue with a gradient. 2.0, anyone join around the 2.0, 2.1? Between 2.0 and 2.1, 2.0 had a lot of downloads, like I think just under 1 million. That's because it was around for like a year and a half. We didn't do any major releases. Basically, we fell into the classic software trap of saying like, okay, well, we'll do a release, we just need this one more thing. That one more thing added up, and we went literally more than a year without a major release. So finally 2.1 came out, it was hugely painful, it was like, man, this took forever. And so we're never again, so we're like, okay, now we're just gonna crank them out. Because what had happened was, there were 3 or 4 times during that year that we didn't release anything that we could have released 2.0. We just said, well, there's this one more feature we really want to get in, and that feature held up the development, then other things changed along the way. So what we've moved to is more like an Ubuntu or Debian model, where basically we say, okay, the pace we found most comfortable is about every 4 months. So after a release, we do about 2 months of heavy development, where we sort of do all the experiments, we break everything, we see what happens. And we do a month of sort of refining that, and then we do a month of hardcore testing. For example, right now we're sort of towards the end of the development phase. There's already 13,000 blogs, active blogs running 2.7, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. So we're getting a lot more testing in, and picking up the pace. Just real quickly, these are some of the things we've added, non-sucky busy in the past couple. It's actually, when you look back at it, there's been a lot of features coming in. SSL support. Oh, sorry, iPhone app is I think the most interesting thing that we've done this year, because we've never really done mobile before. And so we could do a survey here. How many people have an iPhone? Hold it up, because I want to get a good look. This looks like about, what do you call this, about 40% of this room? Yeah, ish, 40, 30. It's, it varies wildly. So in China, there was 1 person with an iPhone. It's just not big there. Wordcamp San Francisco, I would say about 90% of the room raised their hand. Like, it really looked like there was everyone. I think maybe even people who didn't have one were raising their hand just to like not be ostracized. It's kind of like when I moved to San Francisco is when I bought a Mac, because I was like, oh man, they're not going to let me in to the cool parties if I don't get one. It's been pretty exciting. We've had, the latest numbers are over 100,000 installs of the iPhone. The iPhone, as evidenced when I'm in China, has a relatively small worldwide market share. But it seems to be mapping well to the WordPress users, the smarter, more attractive users that we talked about earlier. Because it is really the first device where the web is a first-class citizen. Every single mobile device that I've interacted with before, even like Palms and Blackberries, which I used to have a total crush on, you just couldn't do things in the same way. They didn't support web standards. You couldn't build websites in the same way. The iPhone is completely blown that way, and we're seeing some pretty interesting numbers with it. We also have some updates. For those of you who have an iPhone, we're having some pretty interesting updates for the WordPress application there. And it's inspired us a bit as well to start to look into more seriously whether we can get something out for BlackBerry, Nokia, some of the other handsets out there. It's got 154 reviews. The coolest thing about the iPhone app for me was that we were pretty late on that. So we have no special relationship with Apple or anything like that. So there was, like the TypePad guys were on stage with Steve Jobs, right, saying, we have the application. And I cried a little inside. I was like, man, Steve Jobs, that's awesome. So we came out like a month later, yet we've passed them up by every single metric by several times over, which was kind of nice, and I think speaks to the power of open source. Other big things this year, I think the other most significant thing is the theme director, which y'all can thank Joseph for. Anyone ever have the experience of like looking for a WordPress theme and like bouncing around the internet to like some pretty shady parts of it, and you're like seeing WordPress theme download sites. There was actually a problem for a while. We got, I think, 99% of these shut down. But there were people who would buy AdWords for WordPress theme-related keywords. And so they'd say, free WordPress themes, and you go there and be a nice directory of WordPress themes. But every single one, when you downloaded and installed, would either have a backdoor that allowed them to basically own your account, or spam links that would be inserted in there. So themes got really sketchy, really the wild, wild west. So providing a central and safe and audited place for everyone to get themes, I think is going to make it a lot better.